Carmelo Anthony had a brilliant career with the Denver Nuggets before he decided he wanted out. And presumably, if he would have continued to play even the way he played, and the team never got any further than it did at the one Western Conference Finals that they made, he would have played his whole career in the Denver Nuggets uniform. The Nuggets would have been delighted to have him, and he would have had that 15 hanging from the rafters. Well, it's kind of an odd, petty thing with Carmelo, who, remember, as I think most fans know, he's the one that wanted out. Well, over in the last, 36 hours or so, our Carmelo went on with a podcast with the 7 p.m. in Brooklyn and had a chance to have a discussion about the idea that Denver somehow had an idea to erase Carmelo's legacy because ostensibly they were mad at him demanding a trade and getting out. But listen to Carmelo's discussion as to how he thinks this actually manifested.
Look me in my eyes. You had to feel away when they gave Jokic that 15, bro, because that's Melo.
Hell yeah.
Did you think it was a petty maneuver?
It was a petty maneuver. It wasn't like, oh, we got numbers to choose from. It was like, here.
Take this one.
You got 15.
Ooh.
And y'all put Jokic in the middle of that. He don't know what the
He don't even care.
He could have been like, I want to wear 15. He could have been like, 15 is here. I can wear 15. Oh, that's Melo's number. You know what I mean? Like, just pay homage. I don't know. He could have worn because he wanted to pay homage.
Right.
But what I believe is that they gave him 15 to try to erase
what you did,
what I
your
did.
accomplishments over there. That's crazy.
I used to think about it. I don't think about this shit no more, though.
Yeah.
Because what's meant to be is meant to be.
Well, obviously he thinks about it a little bit because he's talking about it. That it's let me,
he's obsessed with it.
Let me see if I can get past some of the bonkersness of this. Okay, let me get some of the facts straight first and foremost. Carmelo would have worn 15 for as long as he wanted it. How do you want to say? 2, Nikola Jokic wore 15 since he was a child playing basketball. Remember, he started a little comparatively late, so there are pictures of him 13, 14 years old wearing a 15. He was once asked why he picked 15, and he said, I was chubby, and it was the biggest jersey we had. Remember, he's in Serbia, okay? They weren't some AAU squad sponsored by multi-million-dollar companies. It probably legitimately just was the biggest jersey they had on hand, and then that's the number he played in. So he's worn that his whole playing career, even since as a kid. Second, Jokic wasn't the first guy to get 15 when Carmelo Anthony left. They left it without for a year, and then they gave it to Anthony Randolph, the power forward out of LSU, who was in his 4th year. Randolph, kind of a bench guy, played about 8-9 minutes a game for the Nuggets. Was that a plan to erase Carmelo Anthony's legacy, to give it to Anthony Randolph? Was that equally some sort of idea to it that would be insulting because it's Anthony Randolph?
When was Anthony Randolph drafted, you know?
Oh, boy. I mean...
when was he drafted?
It was 2000. He was 11, 12 when he won it, and it was his 4th
round?
season.
Which round?
I'd have to take that one. I'd have to look, but probably. But Jokic was drafted 41st overall,
right,
in the second round during a Taco Bell commercial where ESPN just had, I think, a quesarito at the bottom of it, and
just tell me where Randolph was
14th overall pick, 14th out of LSU,
just as I suspected. He was a much more highly regarded prospect
than
Jokic ever was. And the idea that Jokic would even make the team was very much in question.
Yes.
The idea that he was better than Jusuf Nurkic wasn't apparent until, 15, 16, 16, 17, correct, thereabouts.
When he was drafted, the presumption was he was going to do what the Nuggets were going to do, or even for a bit do what San Antonio did at the time, a lot of draft and stash. Leave him in Serbia and then let him play a little bit. The idea that put it this way, if the Nuggets really thought we're going to draft this guy 41st out of Serbia, he wears 15 already. He's going to ask for 15, and we're going to go, you know what? Kind of rubbing their hands all evil like you're a cartoon villain, twirling their mustaches. That's a great idea because Anthony Randolph didn't appropriately erase all of Carmelo Anthony's achievements. Let's give it to you, guy that right now backs up Jusuf Nurkic. That'll solve it. This is crazy.
It's nonsense, and Carmelo knows it's nonsense.
He's got to know.
The host was clearly egging.
Oh, you're egging him on,
too.
Sure.
But
Because it's hilarious. Why not? I mean, if you're going to go down that rabbit hole, I'll let you.
It's so devoid of fact. There's no connection with reality whatsoever. Does Carmelo really believe that Jokic was a surefire star in the making when he came to the Nuggets and
He was
asked
drafted
for
41st.
15? And by the way,
Nobody thought that.
Nikola Jokic knows far more about Nuggets history than Carmelo Anthony, and I like Carmelo Anthony
I do
personally. I had plenty of dealings with him. He was always pleasant. We certainly, though I criticized him, and he was on talk shows, so I know he listened to him. Carmelo was a great offensive star and a good guy, and I admire his social justice initiatives, and they have been initiatives. They haven't been operations on which he's ridden somebody's coattails or something. He's done a lot of good for the city of his youth, Baltimore, Maryland, down through the years, done many great things off the court. He has a thing about Denver and a thing about the Nuggets that I'll never understand. And yes, he rescued the Nuggets and was there in 03-04 without much around him. That was true as a rookie and got credit for that. But in point of fact, if you're picking an all-time Nugget starting five, there's no way he's anywhere close to being on it.
Whoa, what?
There's no way. And even some of his supporters, while he was here in Denver, now acknowledge that he wouldn't make. Oh, come on. He's not even close.
He's the 11th leading scorer in the history of the league.
Close. So, he's a good offensive player.
A great offensive.
He's not making any all-defensive teams, and certainly his defense was an issue here. His lack of rebounding and lack of playmaking was an issue here. Not that he wasn't capable of it. He just decided he was going to be a scorer. That was his choice. He would not be on my first all-time Nugget team. He wouldn't be on my second all-time Nugget team, and not even close. He might make the third or fourth teams.
Wow.
He might make the third or fourth teams. He didn't do enough here because he wasn't here long enough. And the coach, who was here a lot longer than Carmelo was, actually did better without Carmelo than he did with Carmelo. That is a fact. The Nuggets, over a 5-year period, the last 5 years of George Karl's regime here in Denver, most of which were spent without Carmelo Anthony in his lineup. The Nuggets were the fourth best team in the NBA. During Carmelo's last 5 years, the Nuggets weren't one of the top 10 teams in the NBA.
Carmelo should know better for a couple reasons. What number did he wear with the Knicks, Sandy?
It wasn't 15.
It was 7, right? Because 15 was retired. Well, here's the funny part.
Earl Monroe.
And Dick McGuire.
Yeah.
The number 15, the exact number.
Who were both better players for the Knicks.
But that's
than
irrelevant.
Carmelo
That's
was.
irrelevant. That's totally irrelevant. Here's the only point. Carmelo Anthony played on a team, the team he demanded to be traded to, and couldn't wear the number he loves because it was retired, but it was retired for 2 different people because guess what? There's no rules about that. What are you worried about? You're 15 and Nikola Jokic is 15 one day. If you will ever back off and take a couple deep breaths, might hang side by side because teams can do that. The Knicks, the team you played for, did it already. This idea that it's insulting that somebody wore his number, you've got to be kidding me. This is not uncommon. Look at the New York Yankees who have like 7 retired numbers that are retired for multiple players. And the Knicks have 2 for number 15. I mean, this is ridiculous.
They were both better players than Carmelo.
It's very, very strange that, I mean, at a certain point, like, you wanted out. So let it go. And I think there's a large contingent of fans, and I think at times, when he's not doing things like this, there's even some momentum in the organization to be like, hey, he's retired.
They've tried to reach out.
Let's bury the hatchet, and let's you're an all-time great. Let's have some fun with this.
Honestly, there are people I'd rather the Nuggets have reached out to over the years than Carmelo, but they have made effort after effort. And They also wanted to acquire him. That was another one of Tim Connolly's follies. Thank goodness it didn't happen. Tim Connolly was desperate to get Carmelo back here.
He tried.
And we were, some of us sitting around saying, you'll start to lose the minute you
Well, at that point in his
him.
career, when he was kind of kicking around with the Trailblazers, I mean, sort of a one-dimensional player, so it's a different scenario. But just
he's always a one-dimensional player.
Yeah, but
he never
but the
changed.
dimension wasn't as good as it used to be.
No,
so it's really
that's true.
fascinating. I mean, it's so strange because I don't get it. I think there's a lot of the history of folks in town who would be more than happy to celebrate Carmelo.
But by the way, Jokic knows much more about Nugget history than Carmelo does.
Although
I want to make that point
I do
clear.
think Carmelo had one thing right when he also said, and I can't exactly say it because Daniel had to beep it again. Nikola didn't care. Cool. Came to the team. He gets to wear 15. Whatever. I don't care. It makes no difference. If they also would have told him for some reason, sorry, you can't wear 15, he'd be like, okay, I'll pick something else. Doesn't care. He wore the number he wore his whole life. Doesn't care. Just very, very strange.